joining me right now, as I'd mentioned to you, is Whitney Pitcher. Gave you her background a little bit ago, but a writer, a contributor over at Conservatives for Palin, prolific Twitterer about all things politics, but certainly as a Palin supporter, lots of Palin stuff, and the coordinator for organizing for Palin in Illinois, Whitney Pitcher. Whitney, welcome to the Palin Report.
Well, thank you very much, Tammy. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on with you.
Well, you are very busy, and you've always done really great work. And, you know, a lot of us, we all know each other. And sometimes without these conferences, like you were at the Smart Girl Summit, we really don't hear from each other literally. Our relationships are in the new media. So it's really a pleasure to be able to have you on, so all of your fans and followers are able to hear from you directly. So you were, this is right, this is the Smart Girl Summit. Has it just ended and you were there? That's correct?
Correct, yeah. I just ended this evening in St. Louis, and thankfully just being less than 2 hours away by car, it was a great opportunity to make the drive over and meet some other Palin supporters and other great conservative women who are trying to make a difference in the country. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, you know, and I've mentioned, so you're the coordinator for the Illinois for Palin through the Organized for Palin group. What exactly does that entail, and how is that going?
It's going great. I'm very thankful that there's a lot of very strong supporters here in Illinois. We unfortunately kind of have the laughing stock symbol attached to us being the home state of President Obama and Rod Blagojevich and individuals like that. But there's a lot of strong conservatives here and a lot of people who support Governor Palin. It's going really great. We actually, this week, we have a table at the DuPage County Fair, which DuPage County is one of the suburban counties in Chicago and actually the second largest county in the state.
Wow, great.
We've been able to talk to individuals up there, and it's going really well, and we're just trying to do what we can to get the word out and help also with Iowa, that's one of our neighboring states, and other states as we can. So it's been really great.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because while, I'm in a similar situation here in California, while we've got kind of maniacs who are running the state, it really wakes people up because even liberals, and no matter how deluded they are, there's a point where you wake up and when you have no money, when you've been kicked out of your house and when you realize that you were lied to by a bunch of politicians, there are plenty of liberals out there who can get it that things have gone wrong or off the rails. And I think it's a great opportunity to, Chicago is a big city, and then there's the rest of Illinois. Do you find, being from Illinois, is that an accurate kind of description? Is Chicago different from the rest of your state?
Yeah, I mean, it is very different. I mean, if you look, from a political standpoint, if you look at the map of Illinois geographically, if you put, the red versus blue section, geographically, Illinois is overwhelmingly red, but population-wise, they're very concentrated in Chicago, and that is mostly blue. But at the same time, there are a lot of strong conservatives in Chicago and people who are being more vocal. One of our volunteers, Sarah, has mentioned, her name is Sarah also, she had mentioned she rides the L to work in Chicago and has a button of Governor Palin on her purse or her bag. And and she's actually getting good comments. She hasn't gotten anything negative, and people
excellent.
People are really, yeah. I mean, it's and granted, it is still very much a liberal state, but at the same time, I think people are more willing to come out and state their strong conservative views at the same time. So we're very optimistic. And
Whitney, as the conservative label has been so battered, when people look at a John Boehner or McConnell or some of these other losers out there, Murkowski, and they also see hypocrisy. And I think that Governor Palin's in a great position to redefine and to reintroduce to some people what it means to be a Reagan conservative. Look, I think you're too young to remember the Reagan landslide in '84. Something happens when you can win 49 out of 50 states. You know, it means you won everyone, the Democrats, the people of color, the union members, the women, and the gays. I mean, everybody in this country wants success. There are some few damaged people out there, but I really think not only does Governor Palin represent the Reagan Revolution in a policy way, in a theoretical way, but also in a way of reminding the American people about what that really means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there's the label of Republican, there's the label of conservative, and then there's the aspect of people being right on issues that still, you know, a lot of people talk about the three-legged stool of conservatism. Well, that means nothing unless it's held together by character. And I think that's the kind of thing that Ronald Reagan, President Reagan portrayed, and the same thing that Governor Palin portrays. And I think that's something that doesn't have a party. Character is not bound by being a Democrat or Republican or independent. It's a character. You know, it's a trait that certain individuals have, but very few politicians have. And I think that's something that's going to be really endearing, or really something that grabs hold of people. That Governor Palin.
Well, it lends trust. Right. You know, it lends trust, especially for those independents that voted for Barack Obama, your home state guy. You know, there's people, you know, it's one thing to hear something, and it's another thing to see if someone has a background that reflects those values. And when you see a consistency, that adds into the trust element. People now, they know why they voted for Barack Obama, and unfortunately they trusted him, even though he had made efforts to have no background. He'd made an effort to not have anything that people could point to, and that's a bad sign. And now I think people realize what you just said, that it's one thing to say something, but who is it that's saying it? What is the character of that person? And this is where Sarah Palin really draws the line when it comes to all these other people running, where you see their personal lives is opposite of what it is they say they're doing, or where, you know, they just some things just don't mesh when it comes to rhetoric versus activity and action. And I think that's what makes certainly a huge difference. Now, if I could get to the Smart Girl Summit event, were you at the Undefeated showing that was there, and how did that go?
It went very well. There is a great reception to it, and actually the room was full for that film, and they showed it this afternoon. And Jamie Radke, who is in the Undefeated and is running for Senate in Virginia, and Andrew Breitbart both gave a little bit of an introduction prior to the film, and he's also in it, obviously. And it was very well received. There was probably, I would guess, at least 10 times that, you know, applause erupted just with seeing the kind of person she was, and or is, and what kind of governor she was, and I think a lot of people were just amazed, because even people who are conservatives, you know, you had Ben Howe a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about how, you know, wow, I didn't realize this, or I didn't know this, or I needed to do my research. And I think a lot of even conservatives don't know just how accomplished she is, and what she did in taking on the establishment and the corruption in Alaskan politics, and just how much she's achieved. And I think that's really what this movie portrayed, in addition to just what a conservative leader she is since her time as governor and with the Tea Party movement, but also what she accomplished. I think it really opens people's eyes.
Yeah, you know, and I do think, as I'd mentioned in that interview with Ben, and it's just kind of a theme in the sense of, it's one, you're happy that you're right about her, because you see that the impression you've gotten over the last few years is who she has been her entire adult life. And secondly, though, the shock that even for those of us who believe that, you know, we've got a pretty good view of what the mainstream media does, that we get lots of information, and yet even our reality can be bent by what the lamestream media chooses to show us. That it was the Poll Insider over there at Twitter. He's got a blog where he coined the unknown known. That we think we know her, and we have a sense, but then you find out with the Undefeated, not only do you learn about Sarah Palin, but you find out how far we've been taken for a ride. I mean, did you in your sense, was there any revelation even for you when it comes to, who the governor is and what she's accomplished, or some people, of course, were really in touch with the nature of her background? How was it for you personally, Whitney?
Well, I was just, to me, what it really showed to me, how much she took on corruption. I think that the more I've learned about just how corrupt Alaska was with their political scene, I think for me, I think this is also what hits home with many Illinoisans is, our joke here is, we're the state where our governor makes our license plates. That's how corrupt it is. I think four of our governors have been convicted of corruption since 1972.
Wow.
If not 4 or 5. I don't remember which it is. But at any rate, I think for me, just a realization of just what she has taken on. I mean, the way I'd like to characterize, I've had the chance to just see it 3 times now with getting to see it a rough cut earlier and out in Chicago last weekend and then today. Just what she was up against with, the title The Undefeated, I think really characterizes what the spirit which she carried herself, and also the fact that she took on the establishment and won. She took on corruption and won. She took on, all these things, and the oil companies, and she won. And I think that's really the message that the film carries very well.
For you, and you're right, for Illinoisans, it's interesting because besides the economy and energy being issues in 2012, corruption is going to be a huge issue too. I mean, we're only now beginning to see, incompetence is one thing in the Obama administration, but the corruption that seems to be emerging through the Department of Justice, through Obama's behavior, I think some things are, and just through the Congress itself, people want some freaking honesty, and I think that's going to be a big deal. Now, you mentioned Chicago, and of course, we know Roger Ebert had his snarky so-called review of The Undefeated, and that was a really exciting thing, though, to have the film premiering there and at least certainly being shown to peeps in Chicago. At the same time, you are very close to Iowa. When it comes to really what you're organizing for, how are you guys reacting to the news of the Iowa speech for September 3rd? And you work closely, I know, with Iowa for Palin. Are you guys making any special arrangements? What are your plans? What are you trying to do for the September 3rd speech over there in Milwaukee?
Oh, well, there's a lot of people obviously really excited about this speech, and so we're at this point just trying to see just how much interest we have and what the best way to approach getting transportation over to Milwaukee area. I mean, everybody's just obviously super excited about what the potential for this speech brings, and we're just trying to just see just how much of a crowd wants to go. I know a lot of people really do, because it is just I think it's about a 5-hour drive from the Chicago area, and between 5 and 6 hours from most of the state. So it's really not too bad a drive. So
yeah. Because I mean, here it's going to be in a field, and I've mentioned I'm about 80% that I can go. And yet, it is frustrating. I mean, people think that we're being coy or something when we say we don't know what's going on. But in all seriousness, I haven't been told anything about what that speech is going to consist of. But I can't imagine that she'd go there to tell people she's not running. The timing is clearly perfect because of just the time that it would take to even deal with some of the deadlines for states when it comes to getting on their ballot. We know that special anniversary dates mean a lot to the governor. She announced for the governorship of Alaska on Alaska Day. We know that September 3rd is the 3rd anniversary of her speech at the Republican convention, in addition to being Labor Day weekend. I just can't, frankly, I've been saying, as you know, Whitney, for over a year, I think she's running. And I just can't imagine her going to that first caucus state and not doing it. And I want people to go. And yet, at the same time, I just have to reinforce the notion that in saying go to this because it would be probably a good thing, in some ways, it's still, I started with the song Intuition, the beginning of this Palin report. It still is. It's kind of like on a wing and a prayer. Is that how you're approaching this? Or what do you think she's going to announce on the 3rd? What are you telling people?
I don't have any particular sense of what she might choose to do. She has better political instincts than anybody out there, and obviously has her game plan in mind, or is formulating that. I don't know what to think, but I think that it obviously something. It would be absolutely wonderful for, especially the people of Iowa to get to see her and to hear what she has to say, as well as people throughout the country. I think that it's going to be any of her speeches. I think just really inspire people and encourage people, and just because it's her love of America. It's the embrace of American exceptionalism, and this is something that we were talking about this weekend. Several of us organized for Palin volunteers. It's she it's not so much that it's Governor Palin. She just carries the message right, and she's the correct messenger. And I think that it's that combination that really sets her apart from anybody else as far as presidential candidates or potential candidates. So I think that that message, whether it is a presidential announcement or if it comes prior to one or becomes, maybe, if the announcement were to come before that. I mean, we don't know. I think anything that she has to say will really be a really neat opportunity to hear for all involved.
Well, and I think the Madison Tea Party speech in that snow is a very good example. While there was no announcement of anything specific at Madison, there always in the screenings I've seen, the clips of that Madison speech, bring up such a cheer. And your description is perfectly right. She doesn't eclipse us. It's a very interesting positioning that we can admire her. We trust her instincts. We trust her. But we're not. It's very, very similar to Reagan, where we didn't follow Reagan. We stood on his shoulders. And that there was an identifying with him. This is, versus what happened with Obama in 2008, where it was kind of cultic, and you had him being portrayed as Superman or even Jesus, and the media had halos around him. I mean, it was really kind of ghoulish and creepy. With Palin, it is like, the sister that you can count on, who is going to run through hell with a gas can for you, and we would run through hell with a gas can for her. I mean, it's family. It is the American family. And there's no one else out there who embodies that. And I think that's a very good point about Iowa, is showing the people of Iowa, those independents, those libertarians, those authentic conservatives, Republicans who are also conservative, the people of Iowa who, like the people of Illinois and the people of California and the people of New York and New Hampshire and South Carolina, every state, that we're with them, that this is a family event. I think going, no matter what, you're right, the speech is going to be great. And in addition to, of course, look, the worldwide press is going to be there. I mean, everyone's going to be anticipating something. And it'll be also a great way to support the Tea Party movement in that state, which we're going to need. Whitney, we're going to, besides the presidency, with what's been going on with this debt fight, we need to get smart girls and Tea Party to take over Congress, considering what the next president's going to deal with. Is you're as a Tea Party person as well, are you planning and you're organizing? Are you going to be focusing exclusively on Palin, or are you guys focusing on kind of the broader picture as well? What is going to be your focus for the next year?
Well, I think it's a multifaceted approach, and I think that as Governor Palin said in her Facebook post, where she reissued the Facebook post she wrote just after the 2010 election, that these individuals in Congress need to be held accountable. So I think that you're absolutely right in the fact that congressional races are going to be important as well, and making sure that the next president that she'll have the right people with her. With the legislation they would present to her, and I think that's going to be equally as important and kind of a dual effort. I mean, if you don't have a a Congress who's working with you, then it makes it harder to achieve the things you want to get done. So it's very important as well. You can't put all your eggs in the presidential
Well, and
basket.
it's going to be, though, too, with her, if let's say she's the nominee, praying to God for that, is that you'll have a rushing movement where she will carry. If she had the impact she had in the midterms simply by being a supporter of various people and showing up, imagine if she is the symbol and is the head of that ticket, the kind of momentum we are going to have to create that revolution that we need. If the Republicans aren't willing to nominate Sarah Palin, I don't know how then they're going to switch into frame of mind and then move toward all Tea Party for the congressional races. Either we're going to do it this time and we're going to do it completely, or it's not going to happen. We're either going to be ready to battle the establishment, or we're going to surrender to it. And I believe we're ready to battle it. And the reaction to the Undefeated and all the volunteer organizing that somebody like you're doing, and all the people working with you, and all of the Organized for Palin groups around the country, showing up, I think, in Iowa is, if people can afford it and make it work, I think is the thing to do. I don't think there would be any regret. I think it would be once in a lifetime, being in the middle of history being made. And I think it's just incredibly exciting. And it's all of this, of course, it's people like you, Peter Singleton in Iowa, the new Tea Party America group in Iowa, and just all of the Palinistas listening to this. Funny enough and interestingly enough, we're it. Did you ever think, Whitney Pitcher, this will be my last question to you, did you ever imagine that you'd be doing this?
Well, honestly, no. I was one of those people who didn't pay attention to politics much at all. I was disenchanted being in Illinois. I mean, I voted, but I didn't pay attention. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's kind of a little bit of my story, where I'm coming from. I'm an Illinoisan who voted for Obama for Senate in 2004.
Oh, boy.
I wasn't. Yeah. So
Sure.
I'm coming from a position where I didn't pay attention, but I felt like I needed to vote, and I obviously didn't to vet the candidates very well, at least that year. But I think there's something about Governor Palin and who she is and her ability. For me, as initially, is her ability to connect with the American people. And then as I learn more about her record, and, quite honestly, I like to frame her as the anti-Illinois politician. I mean, she's fiscally responsible, and she took on corruption and things like that. That's really, solidified my support for her. And I think a lot of Illinoisans are in the same place, where that's really, in her character above all else, I think that's really the key thing about who she is that makes her the person we want to lead the country. Absolutely.
Boy, Whitney Pitcher, I can't thank you enough. You're the quintessential Tea Party person. You're a smart girl of smart girl politics. You're a TAM. You're a Palinista. You're organizing for Palin. We are it. It's like when God said the meek are going to inherit the earth. Who knew that he meant Tea Party hobbits? I don't think, though, that would have probably worked well in the Bible. But this is it, and it's an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. And maybe I'll see you. Let's stay in touch, of course, about the organizing for Iowa and September 3rd, and hopefully, perhaps I'll see you there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, well, my pleasure. Whitney Pitcher, thank you so much. Doing a fabulous job in Illinois and also helping out in Iowa. Catch her work over at Conservatives for Palin. That's conservatives, 4Palin.com, as well as you can follow her on Twitter at Whitney Pitcher.